What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Going Crazy with Pastor John. You know we got to kick it off with one of my favorite games, the 5-second rule. This is going to be one of those games where you're going to get 5 seconds, you're going to get a category or a picture of something, you got to think of 5 things that relate to that. Let's check it out right now.
Ready, set, go! Ready, set, go! Ready, set, go!
Alright, now that we got ourselves warmed up, it's time to learn more about how we can go pro when it comes to following God. You guys remember, going pro means to pray, remember, and obey. We got somebody calling in right now who needs our help. So let's listen to what's going on and see if we can help her out and help her go pro. Let's check it out now.
Check it out.
Hey there, Dispatch Hope friends. My name is Gemma, and I wanted to see if you guys could help me out here. My grandma is really sick, and the doctors are saying it doesn't look too good. I'm so scared of what's going to happen to her. I really don't want to lose my grandma, because she's basically my best friend. We do everything together. Is there anything I can do in this situation?
Dang,
Wow.
that's a really rough one. It sounds like her hope is running really low, and it's pretty tough. If anyone's ever been through a situation like that where maybe someone you love is sick or something happened to them, or just any kind of situation where you're really concerned about somebody you love, or maybe even it's your own health sometimes, it's really important that we remember how to go pro. Because if we don't, who knows? You know, we leave ourselves defenseless, and we can get caught up in all these worries and these the sad feelings we have. But when we go pro, we pray, remember, and obey God, then we can overcome anything and get through any situation. And the best way to go pro is to first look at the Bible. So let's do that right now.
Accessing the story of Paul. Story successfully loaded.
Meet Paul, a follower of Jesus who wrote most of the books we read in the New Testament. Many of these books were actually letters to people, telling them about Jesus and his love for them. Paul wasn't always someone who told people about Jesus, though. He was once known for hating anyone who followed Jesus. Paul would even throw Christians in jail or run them out of town to other cities. One day, a bright light burst through the sky, and a voice started speaking to Paul. It was Jesus, and he gave Paul some instructions. Paul did what Jesus said to do, but when he got up, he couldn't see anything. So for 3 whole days, Paul prayed until a man named Ananias came to see him. Ananias placed his hands on Paul, and immediately he could see again. Now Paul believed in Jesus, so he got up and was baptized. From then on, Paul never forgot how Jesus changed him that day. He began writing letters to groups of people around the world because he wanted everyone to know about Jesus' love and how they could have a relationship with him. One of the letters Paul wrote to the Romans was about God's promise to save every person on earth who believed and trusted in him. Paul wanted everyone to know the hope they could have because of God's promises. So he taught the people to remember how God has always been a promise maker and a promise keeper. In his letter, Paul told them to remember a promise that God made to a man named Abraham many years ago. We can read about this promise in the Old Testament part of the Bible. When Abraham was 75 years old, God promised to give him more children than he would be able to count. For 25 long years, Abraham had faith and believed that God would keep his promise. Even when Abraham and his wife were 99 years old, he still remembered God's promise and had hope that God was going to do good things. Then, when Abraham was 100, his son Isaac was born. When Abraham had no reason to hope for children, he believed that God could do anything he promised to do, and God did.
Flash forward.
Thousands of years later, sure enough, in God's perfect timing, Abraham did become the father of many nations, filled with hundreds and thousands of people. Abraham had hope because he was sure that God loved him and would keep his promise, which is exactly what Paul wanted the Romans to remember. He wanted everyone he wrote to, including us, because we still read his letters in the Bible today, to never forget that God will give us hope as we remember His promises.
Wow, 2 Bible stories for the price of 1. It doesn't get much better than that, right? I mean, taking a look at Paul and at Abraham, I mean, they had some really tough situations. Could you imagine not being able to see? Or waiting on a promise for 25 years, but never, ever giving up on God or giving up on praying to Him? That's because they went pro. Now, Jenna's in a situation where she's waiting on answers. She's waiting on something to happen. She's waiting for God to heal her grandma, and she's just waiting to see what's going to happen and how she's going to get through it. And we're going to face situations like that all the time, guys, where we're going to be waiting on maybe a promise that we know God has given us, or just for direction or answers. And during that time, it can get really discouraging. It can be really scary because we want to know what's going to happen right now, because that makes us feel better. And that's not always how it's going to be. Sometimes we have to be patient. Sometimes we have to wait. But when we go pro, when we remember to pray in those situations like Paul and Abraham did, when we remember everything God's done for us, and all the promises God's made, like Paul knew, like Abraham knew, and he constantly just remembered the promise God gave him, and then obey. When we choose to obey God, no matter what we're going through, God will always see us through. You see, God gives us hope, even in the moments where it seems the toughest. God gives us hope in the moments where we need to be patient. And that's what we're learning today. Is that God gives us hope in the moments where we need to be patient. And sometimes that's the hardest times to have hope. But that's why we gotta go pro. Alright, and the best way to finish off going pro is... Oh, okay, you guys wanted to say something? Sure.
Yeah, I want to say something. It's like you don't know that I have really important things to say. I wanted to say that I know exactly what you're talking about. Because there's times where I'm so worried that you're not going to feed me. And I pray, and I think about it, and then I remember that, you do it every day, so why wouldn't you do it today?
Yeah, you know what? I actually know the feeling too. There's times I'm just praying and hoping for someone really awesome and amazing to come along and just improve this entire house. And then I remember that that person or that cat is in fact me, which is a nice feeling because I'm awesome.
All the life you guys live, biggest concern is when they're going to eat next. Although, I can kind of relate to that, but... Alright, now that we heard from them, I think it's time to worship God. What do you guys think? Alright, everyone stand up. Let's worship God together.
I can be patient in times of trouble. I will wait. My hope is in you, God. I can obey. Remember what you say. I will pray. My hope is in you. A future I can't see. I flash forward and believe. I am sure you will come through. You make things good, you always do. A future I can't see. I flash forward and believe. I am sure you will come through. You make things good, you always do. I'm happy, because of the hope that I have. I'm happy, because of the hope that I have. I'm happy, because of the hope that I have. I'm happy, because of the hope that I have, yeah. I can be patient in times of trouble. I will wait, my hope is in you, God. I can obey, remember what you say. I will pray, my hope is in you. A future I can't see. I flash forward and believe. I am sure you will come through. You make things good, you always do. A future I can't see. I flash forward and believe. I am sure you will come through. You make things good, you always do. I'm happy, because of the hope
Nice worshipmen, that's all the time we have left. I'll see you guys on Sunday for our last Axis Kids video Sunday service. Because the week after that, on the 27th, make sure you tell your parents to get ready to register you guys for our children's church coming back. Can't wait to see you guys there. See you later.